The FAE Sonata was a result of a collaboration, and a most unusual collaboration, in Dusseldorf in 1853. Three composers were involved: Robert Schumann, who wrote 2 movements of the sonata, Johannes Brahms, who wrote 1 movement, and Albert Dietrich, who also wrote 1 movement. Dietrich started off with the first movement, which is rarely played. In fact, FAE in its totality is rarely played. But Dietrich wrote the first movement. Then we have Schumann writing a very beautiful slow movement that he calls an intermezzo. Then Brahms wrote a rather muscular, energetic scherzo. That's a piece that does get played a fair amount. And then Robert Schumann again wrote the finale to tie off the whole cycle. The reason why it was a collaboration is these composers wanted to make a musical gift for Joachim, and the idea was they would compose the various movements, they would present the manuscript or a copy of it to the violinist, they would have him play it, and he did it with Clara Schumann, and then he would be asked to identify who had written which movement. So he did that, and he had, of course, no trouble at all figuring out which movement sounded like Dietrich, which movements sounded like Schumann, and which movement was Brahmsian. The title, FAE, refers to a motto of the violinist. Joachim had as his favorite motto, frei aber einsam, which means free but lonely. And this was his motto during his bachelorhood. So what happened is that the German letters can translate easily into the 3 musical pitches F, A, and E. So the motto musically sounds like this. Sometimes there's a variant that they use that sounds like this. Simply taking 1 note down an octave, so you get maybe a more expressive version of the same. So that's frei aber einsam, free but lonely, FAE. And what they did was to insinuate this into the sonata. Now, some of them used it very sparingly. Brahms in particular, he sort of hints at it in the scherzo. Dietrich uses it a few times in the first movement, but Robert Schumann, who was something of a cryptologist, and he loved enigmas and riddles and codes and things like that, he wove no fewer than 10 statements of it into his intermezzo. And then he did one other thing in the finale. He introduced a second motto. It sounds like this. Now the pitches are G sharp, E, and A. And in German nomenclature, G sharp is Gis, A, E is A, and then La. So G sharp, E, A. And this referred to Gisela von Arnim, a lady friend of Joachim. And as Joachim realized, and as Schumann and Brahms realized, her motto was the mirror inversion of the violinist's motto. So you take his motto and you flip it, you use mirror inversion to it, and you get hers. So it was a wonderful way of working both of them into the sonata. And Katharina, I know because you've done so much research on Joachim, you know quite a lot about the relationship between him and Gisela. Can you say a little bit about who Gisela was?
So Gisela von Arnim was the daughter of Bettine von Arnim, very famous author. In 1852, in December, we have some of the earliest letters between Gisela and Joachim that show that Joachim had fallen passionately in love with Gisela, probably sometime in the fall of 1852. So the whole year of 1853, Joachim goes to Berlin a lot to see Gisela and her mother Bettine. They are in a very intimate correspondence that still exists, and one can read those passionate letters that went back and forth. Those by Gisela we cannot read because she burned them at some point, or her later husband burned them. But yeah, there was a wonderful relationship and even gossip about an engagement sometime in 1853. So this engagement did not occur. This was false gossip. But Joachim remained in love with this woman for a few years to come, probably until 1857, if not 59. So Gisela von Arnim was the dedicatee of some very important works, including Joachim's 3 pieces Opus 5, which also use the G-sharp EA and FAE mottos.
Mm-hmm. So Joachim, like Schumann, was fascinated with musical ciphers, and he used her cipher, or her name, wove her name into many of his compositions.
Yes.
So when you hear it, you might think it's a violin sonata, and it is, but it's also a coded violin sonata. So you might think about that as you hear these 2 Schumann movements and imagine the verbal meaning of the music.